And the very first change came in how we began the story. The movie began the story, so I believe the way the books began the story, when we set out to do that, and then all of a sudden realized, but all this stuff that happened on page -10 of the book, as backstory, all these memories about Lissa and her family, and what happened between Lissa and Rose on the night of that fateful car accident, and who Sonia Karp was, like those are stories that are begging to be told in real time. And that started our decision to start the story in a different place and find our way back to all the tentpoles of the books along the way.
Mm-hmm. Who here on the cast has read the Vampire Academy books?
Can I have a show of hands? Sorry, I'm a really loud person. Can you raise your hand if you did read the books? All right! Woo! Sick. All right, cool.
So, Cece, what about the books made you fall in love with them?
They were my sister's books actually, and she was obsessed with it. So I stole them, and and I was like a young teen, and I read them, and it was kind of like the Twilight era, so I already really enjoyed that stuff, and I just loved them, like, you know, best friendship between two really strong women and forbidden lovers, and you know, it's sexy and it's exciting and there's action and everything that you need, really. And as a young girl, I just loved it. I just dug my claws into it and I just didn't let it go. So getting the audition for this and then getting to be a part of it is like so cool. As a fan, like, it's so cool.
I read the first book in 2 days as soon as, you know, I realized there was a book series. And I was obsessed, and I absolutely knew that this was a story that needed to be told. And the fact that at the core of it is this female friendship. I know in my personal life, like, my female friendships are what like really drives my life. Yeah. So just having that and knowing that I could be a part of that really excited me.
After booking the audition, I read the first book and I thought to myself, you know, maybe I'm gonna play Christian. I'm gonna be more focused on Christian parts. But then I started reading the book and I'm like, oh my God, Dimitri and Rose just kissed. Oh my God, so much waiting. And I was like, I'm just hooked now. So I just became a fan, which is awesome. And yeah, I think Christian is such a layered, complex soul. Someone who could hold a lot of resentment in his life, but at the same time has this like sliver of hope that he keeps in, and I just thought that was so beautiful, and I couldn't wait to portray that on screen.
I think for me, I saw the movie in the cinemas, which is an unlocked memory.
2015.
Yeah, in my last year of high school, I must admit it's just an unlocked memory when the audition came through. I was like, I really want to do this. This sounds cool. This guy sounds really intricate. So I did my little bit of research and was like, oh, whoa, I did see this movie. And then I read the book and I was like, whoa, this guy absolutely terrifies me. He's held with such respect and cherish. But I think that's in essence what drew me to him. It was like, this guy is loved, and for me it's the intrigue. Well, so the interest of what we get to do in this show is we don't just get to see Dimitri on the outside. As the story goes on, it's all about what's underneath, this discipline, this...
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see some vulnerability, who knows?
How are some of these characters going to be different from what fans may be expecting?
Oh, well. I'm very sorry to inform you that Dimitri is not Russian. And I think that you will be okay with it once you get to know this remarkable and very good a man who is now embodying him. But outside of that, I think that we wanted to make sure that this ensemble looked and felt and culturally represented the world that we live in today. For a book that's especially been around for a while, adapting it for present day and really having a lot more awareness and knowledge of how to tell those stories than I even did, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
There's this loss that they both go through. And you end up seeing this vulnerable side of Lissa and Rose kind of taking charge, doing her duty, being strong. And then as the show progresses, those roles kind of get flipped a little bit, and you see more vulnerability from Rose and Lissa, stepping into her power.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I think that their dynamic as best friends is just so interesting and resonated a lot with me. And it's just beautiful. I mean, like two best friends, I feel like that's such a fundamental part of being a woman, is your female friendships and how you connect with them.
Soulmates.
Yeah, we really are soulmates.
Yeah, lovers come and go, but best friends are forever.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and let's not forget about the third member of this potential love triangle, Mason Ashford, played by Andrew Liner, who's not here today, but is also a very important part of the story.
Precious.
He's so good.
Wait, there's a third part of this relationship.
But what can you tell us about what we're going to see from those relationships this season?
From my perspective,
There is no Mason Ashford.
yeah. Actually, it was quite interesting because me and Drew get along so well, and we're quite similar in different respects, if that makes sense. And we both come from similar backgrounds in regards to competitiveness. So we had a very
These boys in training, absolutely ridiculous. They're doing chin-ups and they're like, I can attach a bigger weight to my stomach. And just chin up.
I know he's got one more, so it's fine. He's not going to watch this, is he?
He's here.
No. But yeah, so it was interesting to see that we abstracted from, as opposed to a competitiveness, it was more of like a respect. We both come in the world that we're immersed in. They both are Dampers, they're both bred to protect the Maroi. So there was a similarity, and it was all about the love for Rose as opposed to the competition between the two.
One of my favorite stories in the book was Rose's friendship with Mason, but I always felt so sorry for Mason because it just seemed like he didn't really have a chance. And even when she kind of would give him little chances. And one of the things that we wanted to do, look, I'm gonna be honest, there was a plan to kill Mason real early on, just like in the books, and like that was gonna happen. And
Ouch.
then we met Drew. Andrew Liner.
That's true.
And the first thing she said to me when we auditioned him and saw him for the first time was, Mason can't
never
die
dies.
so in the absence of me not being able to kill Mason in the first 5 episodes, like I woulda, now we had, it was incumbent upon us to actually try to build a legitimate and honest and authentic tension, because Rose and Mason, as good friends, and as, people with romantic chemistry, they're good at it. It shows up on screen, and so we actually have a little extra heat to that love triangle that I wouldn't have even planned for. Not to say that Mason won't die eventually, I'm just saying.
I mean, again, ouch.
Dimitri has nothing to do about it, I don't.
I'm just picturing Drew crying somewhere, right? They first meet each other and they're like, we have this shared experience, we have this kind of resentment towards the society that we live in, and it's just real, like, internal love that's being affected negatively by external factors. And I think we've all been there in some ways. Like, I'm sure we've fallen for people who we can't be with due to distance or due to circumstances out of control. I know I have, and it's been really tough. And I think that's something that I really enjoyed portraying and enjoyed exploring within Christian. And oh my God, imagine getting to play her boyfriend on screen. I was like dreaming every night. Yeah.
The book series is all Rose single POV, right? Rose is your narrator. She tells you how she's feeling. Everything else is what she observes. She's able to get inside Lissa's head to know how Lissa is feeling, so she can tell us that. But really, like, she's not in Christian Ozera's head. She's never in Dimitri's head. We, the writers, get to get inside their heads. We get to build their inner lives and build story out of those inner lives. And so Christian is a much more fully realized character in this series than he could have been in the books, in that we really only knew him by way of how what Rose knew of him and how Rose felt about him. So I'm excited about him specifically because, Andre's so good at that soulful, smart, intelligent, compassionate, but also careful emotion for a character, and he really, really did a good job.
A lot of pressure.
A 17-year-old girl almost have sex with her teacher, and we were like, oh, shoot.
I want to rethink that.
And so we really did open up the world and pull a lot of, especially the royal intrigue stuff forward, and mixed up the way that we're telling the story while still trying to be as true as possible to the story that exists.
That sounds
Minus
incredible.
the last spell, I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
Ooh, ouch, again.
Me and Kieran were hurt. We were a little hurt by that one.
You didn't need it.
We did need it. Look, man, I'm gonna be honest. As a fan of the book, that shit was hot. That was so hot. And so me and Kieran are like, when's the charm coming out? When's the necklace? And I think the way we did it is honestly better, and it's hotter, and you guys are gonna like it better. You'll like it more.
Amazing.
Where she's like, I remember seeing you standing all alone at family day.
Oh, don't make me
And it's
cry.
like your heart hurts, and these two young girls sort of like recognized each other and became bonded and were best friends. And so during all of that time, they also kind of lived in a bubble because Rose was able to be sort of taken in by the Dragomir family and their privilege and all of that. So she was a Dhampir and she was training, but she also didn't quite experience the Dhampir life in the way that Dhampir normally would. And Lissa was a pampered royal. So they're in a bubble. They don't know the world that they're in. So what we thought was really important was to show them
The bubble bursting.
open their eyes, that bubble burst, when this crash happens, everything changes.
Yeah.
And then they have to decide what they want to do about it. And that's going to challenge them
Yeah.
the rest of, the seasons, all of them.
We did make a decision not to have her past the pilot engage in much self-harm. So that's an element from the books that we decided to get rid of. We do kind of touch on it a little bit. Those of you who read the books know why Lissa has thoughts in her head that she can't explain. And the entire first season is about getting to the bottom of that, getting to the bottom of this so-called darkness, telling the mirroring story of other people that you might know from the book that went through the same thing. And I'm going to stop right there before the people that haven't read the books, start to get annoyed. But the answer is a quiet yes.
It's really important for us to
Feels like a respect thing as well, right?
exactly to keep the fans happy and myself happy as well with my initial love for the books. And they're so supportive. Like, you guys are so supportive. We get so many messages and tweets and all of this stuff being like just so ready to accept what we're putting out, even though it might be a little bit different from the books, even though we might not look exactly the way the characters are described and that kind of stuff. But like, it's just this overwhelming wave of love and support, and like, thank you so much for that stuff. Like, it's so important to us, and it is a responsibility that we feel, and we just want to please you. And
Yeah.
we want you to be happy.
As our relationship as Cece and Danny, also it's almost like they kind of bled together.
Oh, yeah,
like
absolutely.
there would be moments where I don't even know how to explain it, but like I just knew that Cece needed a hug. Like something so
God.
simple, like
And then I burst into tears.
Yeah,
and
and
she's
it
like,
would-
I knew.
yeah,
I
and
knew.
it would be like she would just, kind of be in herself again, literally like Rose.
Yeah.
And kind of keep that to herself, and no one would really ask her anything or kind of be like, hey, and it was just, I had to say nothing and just hug her, and we both just knew. And then there's a line in the show where I say Rose and she just says, I know. And that's all we needed to say was, I know. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, oh my God, that's low-key me and Cece.